I would imagine that there are some hacks to working with you when it comes to like negotiating contracts with a franchisor, but I'd love for you to elaborate on what it is that you provide as a consultant to someone that wants to get in the space where you give them a leg up as they get started.
I want them to see all the top opportunities in their markets. And I think we're able to cut to the chase a lot faster, even in the beginning. So we'll probably look at 10, 12 opportunities out of the gate, exposing them to different industries, only getting them looking at businesses that are actually available in the market, right? You can spin a lot of wheels out there. And even if you see a top 100 franchise list, companies are paying to be on that list. It's a PR move. So we're able to get them a peek behind the curtain, having the relationships with the franchisors. Oftentimes I'm calling in favors, trying to get my client ahead of another candidate in the pipeline for the same territory. That's the biggest thing that we're up against today because we are seeing a lot of interest. It's trying to secure those territories before someone else does.
What's up, John? Good to have you on the show.
Hey, Justin, excited to be here.
Well, this is fantastic timing. I don't know that I've ever had someone on the show so quickly upon becoming a member of the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind. I was sharing that with you off air, but the timing's just great. You know, first and foremost, you're a friend. Secondly, you just joined the mastermind. And third, I'm so excited to tell your story because you have an incredible story.
Well, appreciate you having me. No, it's funny how things work out. And I've got booking agents that when they brought the opportunity to me to join, it was a no-brainer. So funny timing.
Well, this is so fun. All right. So for people that don't know you, you are, well, maybe we should start with like the fact that you're an incredible golfer and your son is an incredible golfer. And that's something cool that you guys get to do together. So beyond just like the business pedigree, you are a tall guy that can hit the heck out of the ball. Okay. But you are a top 1% of franchise consultants. Your franchise consulting firm, FranBridge, has been a 2-time Inc. 5000 firm, and I think you're a former Inc. 500 franchise president. So you've also owned many franchise locations. You've been a franchisee. So we can go all the different directions here today on what you like, what you don't like, what to stay away from, what is, what industries are in right now and what are kind of ones to stay away from.
Yeah, no, there are multiple directions we can go. And I think it's helpful to first share, my background. I spent many years in the corporate world. I was helping others build their empire, very thankful for the experiences. I can really resonate with a lot of our clients because I've been in their shoes. I had the golden handcuffs and really fell into franchising about a decade ago. And, for me, when I'd hear the F word franchise, I would think fast food. And, it was eye-opening to me to see all these industries that existed outside of food. And like you said, I had the opportunity to step in and serve as president of Shelf Genie franchise system and support franchise owners all across North America. And really, for me, that was a light bulb moment where I fell in love with the model and just saw how all these diverse backgrounds could come together under a shared system of support. And since then, as you mentioned, have invested in multiple franchises myself. I've got good people overseeing those today, and allows me to spend most of my time helping others explore opportunities, top opportunities in their market.
So I think it's interesting to point out. So number one, you are a franchise consultant with a background in corporate America. Number two, you're a franchisee. You own some different, you've kind of had higher ranking positions even inside of your franchisee positions. But let's just call it, you own many locations. And then three, you're a passive investor. You invest in a lot of LP deals. We've talked about this. And in fact, before we got on the call, you had said you just went through the due diligence, like vetting deals course that Hans Box and I put together for those that, really want to get serious about their lifestyle investor pedigree and forward movement. And I think you had said it helped you make a decision not to move forward on a deal recently.
Yeah, I had a couple of pre-IPO deals. Went with one, but chose not to go with the other ones strictly because I was going through that course and I couldn't justify to myself that it made sense. So, no, I'm an all of the above kind of guy when it comes to investing. I'm all about diversification. I believe, in finding good sponsors, good partners across different asset classes, whether it be private equity, private credit, real estate funds, syndications, crypto, precious metals, really everything out there, certainly the public markets as well. And I think everything has a place. My belief is that business ownership has a place in investors' portfolios as well. And it's not always that they're in the driver's seat running the day-to-day operations. Sometimes it can be more passive. I'm say that carefully because I never want to sugarcoat it. Your competition's not going to be passive. So if you're not the one driving the day to day, you better have a really good operator in that seat. And that is one of the things I love about franchising is if you have a good franchise system and franchisors are on the sidelines supporting that operator, it allows them to carry a lot of the daily support water for you. So you don't have to spend too much time.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I talk about this all the time, that if you are buying a business or starting a business, really you're buying or starting a job. If you don't have an operator, you are the operator. And so it's imperative that you find someone and have some sort of succession plan just in case, because it will be your job unless you find someone great that is skilled and there's longevity. They can continue doing well and grow in that role. I've been blessed with some great operators over the years. Now I'll say that I'm a little bit gun shy on some industry franchises. I'm not going to badmouth anyone. I have experience on the franchisor side. I have experience on the franchisee side. And I would say with my 3 last franchises, I would call them 0 for 3, not in terms of performance necessarily, although, 1 for sure, but dealing with corporate. Like, I have had some of the biggest headaches, some of the biggest I'll call them knucklehead moments with people that I'm like, how on earth are these individuals running a franchise? And I just think if you're going to get into the space, there are great ones to get in the space with. You just have to do your research, do your due diligence, and find the ownership groups that are great at what they do and treat their franchisees well. And I'm sure you know a lot about that.
100%. End of the day, franchising is like every other industry out there. And I struggle sometimes when franchising is grouped together, either in a positive light or in a negative light, because end of the day, it's several thousand businesses, right? And each has its own unique characteristics, its own leadership teams. There are franchises that provide outstanding support to their owners. There are ones that don't, right? And that's where we come in and kind of like we're talking about the due diligence course. I mean, there's a process designed so that you can get, really an eyes open view into the franchise through a series of, oftentimes around 2 months or so, where you're actually talking to other franchisees in the system and hearing about their experience, asking them questions. So no, you definitely want to do your due diligence going in. And certainly that's where we come in to help. And it's entirely free to work with us. Very much like if you were buying a house and using a real estate broker. It's a very similar model. But you're exactly right. And do we have a perfect record? No, but we're very proud of the record that we do have. Very, very proud of it.
Well, and you know what I'd say, John, the big miss that I made is I didn't hire someone like you. I didn't get the pros and cons of each side of the equation. I had friends that were in different industries that had franchises, and I went based on their success or their perspective without doing my due diligence and my homework on the franchisor. Anyone that was in corporate and anyone that could have some sort of a, control influence over my outcome, right? Beyond just what we do on our location. So I think that hiring someone like you is that's a wise move. Like, that's a good, it's a good expense to make sure that you're getting into the right space. And let's talk about it. Like, what are some of the industries that you feel really good about right now?
It's funny. A couple of years ago, it was all about what are the COVID resistant businesses, right?
Right.
God, feels like forever ago. Now it's what are the AI resistant businesses? So,
Yep.
A lot of people, are either losing their jobs around AI. I mean, we see the headlines in the Wall Street Journal every day, or they're, being asked to do more with less. And, they're concerned about kind of what the future looks like. So we definitely see that driving part of the demand in the market, but they're reaching out to us and saying, hey, we want understandable cash flowing businesses, things that aren't going out of style, non-trendy. I joke that non-sexy is the new sexy when it comes to business ownership.
Yeah, that's good.
And people are gravitating towards things, in the home services and property services realm, everything from dumpsters to, niches like environmental testing after restoration work's been done to artificial turf to, I've had several pool cleaning deals in the past month, flooring, roofing, all these different niches. A lot of private equity's flowing in there too. A lot of smart
That's
money
right.
getting involved in the trades and trades related businesses.
And
Certainly,
paying a high multiple too. I mean, they're really spending here, on the home services side.
100%, 100%. Health and wellness is a big area. Everything around longevity and different modalities, around health and recovery is big. Anything related to seniors these days, just catching those the macro demand that's not going to be slowing down. People have been turning 65 every day for many years. You always hear about the 10,000 people every day. And so it's not just in-home senior care, but there's other ways to play that space too. Like we've had clients get into in-home senior care and then they've come back and said, what would be a good complementary business? It's what I call franchise stacking. And,
Okay.
they've gotten involved in things like wheelchair ramps and stair lifts and, mobility solutions in the home, a great tie into that in-home care business. People will always spend on their kids, their pets. And so, it's not just tutoring. I mean, in the kids space, we've had clients do very well with youth soccer. Quite a few clients do well in that space. There's a teen driving school now. Well, that's required in 35 states.
Right.
Highly fragmented mom and pop industry. So again, it's not what you had on your bingo card when you start thinking of franchising. And franchising tends to be a little more B2C oriented, I'd say, from a volume of opportunity standpoint. But at any given time, there's a good grouping of B2B services, whether it be freight brokerage, business coaching, insurance adjusting, hydraulic pipes. Again, niches that you wouldn't think of until they're right in front of you.
No kidding. Well, it was really fun. I was in Antigua for our spring break this year, and I met a guy and his wife that are the franchisors of the Learning Center. They were staying at the resort, at one of the two resorts that we were at, and we just had a great conversation. It's been neat seeing them scale, and they're up to, I think, 76 units now. But some of these concepts are super simple concepts. The build outs are super simple. So I look back to Orange Theory Fitness. We spent like $800,000 on our build out. I mean, if we did it again, we would just never do that. That definitely was not the best way to spend those funds, but we were just having a hard time getting it done for less. Compare that with, I remember I was talking to, I became friends with someone that runs a joint, asking all these questions, and he has a whole bunch of them here in the Austin area. Coolest guy, but their build out costs are next to nothing. And so that's an important, category that our team overlooked when we were first opening up, because we are in such a hot franchise that everyone was just willing to do it.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people out there that like the idea of not having a physical location. It's what I would call service-based franchise. And probably 2/3 of those that we work with go into something where you don't need that build out and that kind of retail location as you would think about it, for exactly that reason, that overhead.
Yep. And so I would imagine in the restaurant or fast food franchising space, you're going to have a lot of overhead. You're going to need to figure out the real estate aspect. So is that why you kind of lean away from food franchises?
The $1 million question. I've got nothing against the food guys. Some of the top food guys out there are good friends of mine, and we joke about it. But at the end of the day, my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money.
Yeah.
Opportunities that don't require the same level of CapEx or the same number of hourly employees, or oftentimes carry higher margins because you don't have food waste. And they're not susceptible to consumer whims too, right? I mean, frozen yogurt was big until it wasn't. So,
right.
We like these more long-term, stable type industries.
Yeah, be careful of the fad, right? And even workout concepts, you see that shift, over time. But there are a lot of things that are sticky that are going to stand the test of time. Or like in home services, you're always going to need, if you are not handy, which most people are not handy, you are going to need someone that fixes, the roof, the plumbing, the electric, the gutters, whatever it is, the windows. You don't want to wash windows. I mean, whatever it is, like. That to me is sticky and has longevity, and AI is probably not going to disrupt that industry too much. And the way that it may disrupt it may be able to enhance those brands, because there's a physical manual aspect that I think just must exist. I don't think we're having robots that can do all this stuff anytime soon.
You're exactly right. And I think that's going to be harnessed by good franchises. Again, I say good franchises, knowing they're not all created equal, right? The good franchisors are going to be innovative, really tap into AI from a lead generation standpoint, from a back-end support standpoint, and bring that to their franchisees. And oftentimes you are in industries that are less sophisticated. Maybe they're highly fragmented, mom and pop type operations. So if you're able to come in with not a brand name, I think brand names, I mean, the brand names are big in food and in hotels, but in a lot of these other industries like insulation, that's a $52 billion a year industry.
Right.
Most people keep name a brand of insulation, but it's all its support and the marketing and everything else that goes with it. And I think AI will have a big home in the franchise world.
Yeah, I think so. And so I think from the standpoint of, so I've got there are a lot of people in our mastermind communities that have transitioned from W-2 into franchisee. And that is a great transition for a lot of people. I'm curious, and by the way, a lot of the same skills that help people be successful in the corporate world are going to allow them to be successful in franchise because they don't have to come up with the playbook. The playbook's there, you run the playbook, right? So like it is in most instances a pretty unique and pretty smooth transition. But let's kind of compare that against starting your own company. Why do you lean franchise over starting your own company? There are pros and cons on both sides. As for me in general, I've started companies, I've bought companies, I've sold companies. I much prefer taking a concept that is already there, already working, already has customers, has proof of concept, has revenue, ideally has profit. I wouldn't buy one if they didn't have profit. For one that I'm owning myself, buying completely or having a large interest in. But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on that? The startup life versus the franchise life.
Yeah. Well, franchising is not right for everyone, right? Some people are too entrepreneurial and they want to put their thumbprints all over it. My humble belief is that for the vast majority, it does make sense, at least for that first, time out of the gate. Some of the benefits of franchising that oftentimes get overlooked. Yes, you've got the playbook. Yes, you've got the support in the franchisor, but oftentimes it gets overlooked that, you've got a mastermind essentially that you're stepping into of other people running the same thing day in, day out. You really can learn from each other. We know the power of being in the right room, right? We're also able to step into a technology stack day one. Now, could you create that technology stack on your own? Potentially, but it takes some time. It's just one more thing to do. You also step into marketing that oftentimes has been optimized because they've opened other locations before. They figure out what works, what doesn't. So again, you're not starting from scratch. So the idea is that you're starting on third base, to be cliche, rather than starting on first. And again, every franchise system is different. Everyone provides different levels of value. And we encourage our clients as they go through the process to really push the franchisor on, hey, if I'm paying this royalty stream, what are you bringing to the table from a support standpoint? Things that I might have to pay for anyway if I were to just go through the startup. It's interesting when you look at exiting the business too, when you kind of start with the end in mind. We all know how it works exiting a regular non-franchise business, but there's been research done that shows in franchising and like-kind industries, franchises typically trade at a higher multiple, slightly higher multiple than non-franchises. So I think there's value in that resale buyer's eyes as well.
Well, you have a captive audience too, right? So if someone is doing well inside that franchise, they want to buy your franchise, right? That's nice versus a whole bunch of people that don't know the space. Now you can get some of that too, but it's nice having people that are experts at that thing, and you've got a whole pool of them. Let's talk real quick about your role. So I would imagine, and I don't know all the details of this, but I would imagine that there are some hacks to working with you and having someone like you on their bench when it comes to like negotiating contracts with a franchisor, negotiating, starting leases. Like I feel like if we had some of that, we would have done things differently and probably a lot better. But I'd love for you to elaborate on what it is that you provide, as a consultant to someone that wants to get in the space, where you give them a leg up as they get started.
Yeah, first off, from a 30,000 foot level, I think I've seen a lot, right? Having been a franchisor or multi-brand franchisee as well. So I provide those perspectives to them. And I think we're able to cut to the chase a lot faster, even in the beginning. I want my clients to see everything out there. I want them to see all the top opportunities in their market. So we'll probably look at 10, 12 opportunities out of the gate, exposing them to different industries, only getting them looking at businesses that are actually available in the market, right? You can spin a lot of wheels out there. And if you just start Googling around, every company's putting their best foot forward. Even if you
Yep.
see a top 100 franchise list, companies are paying to be on that list. It's a PR move. So we're
Yep.
able to get them a peek behind the curtain. And then outside of the perspectives that we share, having the relationships with the franchisors, oftentimes I am calling in favors, trying to get my client ahead of another candidate in the pipeline for the same territory. That's the biggest thing that we're up against today, because we are seeing a lot of interest. It's trying to secure those territories before someone else does. So, and then also reaching out to the franchisor there at the end, saying, can we get this favor? Can we get this pulled in? Can we get this exception made to the franchise agreement? So yeah, there's kind of the tangible and intangible side. And I love our model because, again, it's entirely free to our clients. So I'm the least salesy person to ever encounter. They're working with salespeople on the franchise side.
Right.
I get to kind of, even though I'm compensated that way, I get, through referral fees. Yeah, end of the day, I consider this my client, and we're playing the long-term game.
Yeah.
So many of our clients come back and buy additional locations, additional franchises. It's what we call franchise stacking. And that's what gets me excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. So today, more than what I ever recall seeing in the future or in the past, and really what I see being kind of the norm in the future is ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisition. This is something that's now being taught in colleges and universities. This is curriculum that it sounds like is here to stay. So instead of having no agenda, no coursework, nothing to teach people to become entrepreneurs, just go out there and figure it out, trial and error, or join some different groups in the process. Now you have schools that are like, hey, let's build a curriculum around this. Let's bring in adjunct professors that have actually done this before. So it's not just theory. And I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on that and how that parlays into a lot of what you do in franchise consulting.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge supporter of the idea and love how, it's getting, there are a lot of talking heads out there. A lot of them are doing a good job, really getting the word out there around ETA. Justin, it's interesting. Where I sit, I have guys and gals reaching out to me every day that have been looking for an existing business for a while. Now, it can be a great proposition if you find the right business. There are 4 different Harvard MBAs I'm working with right now that have been in the ETA game for years, trying to find an opportunity. And they come to me and say, in some cases, they've been under LOI 5 or 6 times, due diligence didn't shake out, or they've paid people for several years to go out and look for businesses. So it can be a needle in a haystack oftentimes.
Yeah.
And, all that time they could have spent building a business. So that's one of the things I love about franchising. It allows you to get in the game. And so I always encourage people to think about what's right for the next season. And maybe it's, you launch a franchise, you could still buy a business down the road. You could still start a business. What's right for the next season? What's going to provide the platform to build off of? One of the things that's interesting about ETA is people think it totally de-risked the situation, right? But whenever you buy someone else's business, there's going to be a change in ownership, change in culture. You may lose key employees or key customers, and here you paid a premium for it. And so I love the fact that franchising, again, allows you to kind of start. Yeah, there's a little more work in the beginning, right? Getting the business off the ground. But then once you're in it, it also opens up the door to kind of what you alluded to a few minutes ago, the potential to buy other franchisees' businesses. The fact is you're going to get first line of sight into anyone else that's selling. And here you already know what to look for. You know the business, and allows you to really accumulate a larger empire. I think of my client, Nathan, in South Carolina. Nathan's the largest franchisee of 2 Men and a Truck moving service.
Okay.
Started with 1 location, bought other franchisees over time. He now has 12 locations, doing $45 million a year in revenue.
Wow.
And what's really cool in his situation is every year or two, he comes to me and says, hey, Jon, what are you liking out there? I've got a young 27-year-old guy in my organization that I want to give more responsibility to. I'd like to, give him some equity in a new business and let him go make us proud. And then he coaches him from the sideline. So
that's cool.
A lot of our clients are on that continuum, maybe not the point that Nathan's at, but I think it's a great case study to share to show what the potential is.
Well, I love it. He's taking care of his people, paying it forward. I mean, that's super cool. We need more people like your client. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about financials around franchises? You know, what is the investment amount? I know that varies per brand. What is the revenue? What is profit potential? What does it look like in year one versus year two or year three? You know, we can talk about exits, and the more you have, the higher the multiple is, right? So the more you roll up, if you have, you know, 2 franchises, you're probably gonna get a higher multiple than one. If you have 5, you most certainly are.
Yeah. Yeah. And to finish that thought there, you're exactly right. The larger you build it, typically you also see a rise in the multiple as well. End of the day, franchising, it gets grouped together for better or for worse. It's a bunch of different types of businesses, different industries. So I'll just kind of speak in some general terms here. If you're getting into one that is that retail brick and mortar component, you know, oftentimes from an all-in investment range, you're looking at 400,000 or 500,000, maybe even a little bit higher. There are some that are retail light, as I call them, that might be 250, 300. If it's more of a service-based, non-retail business, your all-in investment typically is at that 150, 200-ish range. A lot of people will
That's
do multiple
nice.
territories where you buy the right to kind of expand over time. We do have some sub $100,000
Whoa.
franchise. Some of those B2B services fall into that bucket.
Wow. That's
Um,
incredible. To be able to start a business for that little and
Yeah.
not even have the upkeep of a home base.
And what that includes would be your franchise fee, your startup cost, several months of working capital, usually about 3 months of working capital built in. And it's not that everyone is funding it with cash. Some are, but a lot of people like the idea of leveraging, and SBA loans tend to be the most common form of leverage. And obviously banks prefer lending to franchises. So
Yep.
SBA loans are very common. Retirement rollovers are another way that people are getting in the game, where you can kind of self-direct in a way through what's called the ROBS program.
Robs. Yeah.
Right, around the tax implications. So some will use it in conjunction with the SBA. So a lot of different ways to make it happen, but that's what it looks like from an investment standpoint. On the financials, gosh, I mean, across the board, right? I'd say most of the franchises that we look at, you know, you're probably in the 15 to 20% ballpark. Some are north of that, but 15 to 20% margin, end of the
Okay.
day, post royalty, you know, essentially your EBITDA, prior to any debt service. But depending on your revenue, I mean, if you're doing $1 million, and a lot of our clients, some will do $1 million in year one, quite a
Okay.
few, I mean, hit that run rate. The run rates at some point in year 2 or maybe early year 3. But if you're doing 20%, that's 200,000 on an investment that may have been 200,000.
Right.
So great ROI. Now, in exchange, you're putting some effort in, right?
Mhm.
There's a reason why everyone's not doing it. It does take effort. If it was easy, I always say business ownership was easy, everyone would be doing it. But there's a reason why you can make outsized returns and have that potential, but it's not going to run itself. It comes down to having a good operator, whether it be you or someone else.
And then top line revenue, royalty payments are pretty consistent across the board. I think like what, 5 to 7%, maybe as high as 8%,
Yeah, most of what we see these days is 6 to 8%.
6 to 8. Okay.
And that would be reflected in the financials. And, so we're netting down to that 15 to 20% range
Yep.
after royalties.
Okay. And so there are some franchises that really only want you to have, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 locations. There are other ones where they want you to really scale up. What are your thoughts around that? Are there ones that you like for scale better than others?
Yeah, the logic behind that, ultimately, if franchisor would love to have fewer franchisees with larger territories, it's just from a support standpoint. However, they don't want you to bite off more than you can chew, right? And then be sitting on land that could be farmed by someone else. That's kind of the trade-off between the two. So I think it depends on the individual. There are some systems that say we're only going to start with one. There are others that say, hey, take down the whole market. One of the ones that I'm invested in, business called Temporary Walls. It's containment walls around renovation projects and construction sites. Some clients of mine in New York got into it, got off to a great start, decided they wanted to buy the rest of Manhattan, needed some investor cash. Certainly, I was the first call they made, thankfully, and I jumped on it. But we own all of Manhattan. I mean, that's probably the equivalent of 11 or 12 territories in that case.
Wow.
But it was the right operator. We had a good team in place, and it made a lot of sense for the franchisor to approve us.
What other franchises have you done or are you getting into?
Yeah, I've got one that does line striping and asphalt paving, so parking lots. Again, I like these dirty type businesses.
Yeah.
Those are doing well. I do have one that's challenged at the moment. We're trying to figure out how we get the cost of customer acquisition down. And it is a retail-based business down in Delray, Florida. I don't have any partners on it. It's just me, and the franchisor is kind of leaning in, helping. But it provides custom orthotics and footwear. We use 3D printed orthotic printing, for the insoles. A neat case study. I'm invested on the franchisor side. I helped start one called Art of Drawers a couple of years ago. It's custom pull-out shelving for your kitchens and pantries.
Very cool.
We're up to about 45 franchisees, 130 territories, rocking and rolling. I've had franchisees come back by more locations, and it's been a lot of fun to not be the daily operator on that one, but I'm the second largest shareholder and helped get it off the ground. And it's kind of been counseling from the sidelines.
So you're the franchisor on that side, right?
Yeah.
So, and for people tuning in, the franchisor, if you can ever get there, is where you want to be, because you're getting the royalty from everyone. So, you got to have the right systems and you got to be able to provide the value. But if you can get to the Zor side, that's really good. Most people start on the Z side, the franchisee, and try to work their way up and over. So well done. You're playing both sides, which I think is brilliant. And obviously you're playing kind of that middle play too, where you're, advising people, consulting to help people get in. And obviously you've got a ton of knowledge being in the space and having done it yourself.
Yeah, no, it's been a great run, and we're seeing more interest in franchising than ever before. I'm also more excited about the models that we're seeing out there. Just so many different niches.
Well, and it's funny, we're seeing, AI kind of revolutionizing everything. But we're also seeing like these new ideas in the franchising space that are revolutionizing everything. So it's like, hey, there's this new, niche economy here that we can capitalize on that no one's ever done before. I mean, we're seeing like some of the franchises that I've seen pop up. I'm like, whoa, I would have never thought of that. And they're just crushing it.
Yeah, and we like ones, I would never show a client a mosquito company or a in-home cleaning company. Those are commoditized, right? And you already have a lot of large brands. It's more of the unique ones. I mentioned the temporary walls. There's not another franchise in that space, right? We have competition, but it's oftentimes less sophisticated. Yep. That's what we like to see. And, Justin, we're at a point right now where there is so much interest in franchising, and opportunities are moving incredibly fast in markets like yours in Austin, Atlanta, where I am. We're always working oftentimes with emerging companies, right? Newer ones that still have a little bit of space left territory-wise. And so, there's a little bit of science, a little bit of art to the diligence. We're looking at the leadership teams. We want to see not only industry experience, but also franchise experience on the team, people that have been there, done that, supported successful franchisees and their backgrounds. Certainly the profit model's got to be there, competitive advantages, all those things. But it is a unique time out there right now because the demand is strong.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. Territories are moving fast.
They are. And, it really pays to have great operators. I'm just going to give a shout out to Jasmine and Zan, who run a couple of our Kids Strong locations. They're partners and are doing an incredible job. And it's nice seeing private equity come in and, really make a large investment into that brand. That's been a big move. And I'm excited to see the fruit from that. But our team has really grown these locations over the last year and has done an awesome job. So I'm thrilled about that, and thrilled about, taking a couple of locations that were really struggling and kind of, getting them back on track. They're already back on track, but really moving in a good, positive direction for the long run.
I think you'll be pleased with Princeton Equity, who got behind that one. I know those guys will, and think highly of them.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, good news there. So, Jon, where can people learn more about you? This seems like the most no-brainer move ever. They can hire you. It doesn't come out of their pocket. It comes out of the franchise's pocket. You give advice. You're helping them get, kind of leaps and bounds ahead of where a typical person coming into a franchise would be. So how do they learn more about you? You wrote a book. Where can they get that? Give us all the goods.
Yeah, come out to FranBridgeConsulting.com, FranBridgeConsulting.com. Share your email address. My assistant will reach out and talk about next steps, what it looks like to jump on a call. But she'll also share a downloadable copy of our book, Non-Food Franchising, which would love to share a free download with all of your listeners. It's only 90 pages, packed a ton of content in there. It's been a great resource to thousands of folks out there. And Certainly, if you'd rather purchase it on Amazon, all the profits and proceeds go to Hope International, which is a great nonprofit that we support. But I'd also say connect with me on LinkedIn. I put a lot of content out there that I think can be helpful for those that are considering this path.
Well, I love it. Well, I'm so excited that we're getting a chance to share your business, your skill set with so many people right out of the gates. I mean, you've been a member, I think now, a Lifestyle Investor for just 2 weeks. So, so excited to have you in. So excited to see, all the cool things you're going to do and the people that you'll have access to. And I really hope people take advantage of, reading your book and digging in with you. And if you're really trying to make the move, if you're watching this or listening to this and you for a long time have known, hey, I'm grinding it out and I just don't want to be doing it anymore, you might as well grind it out in something that can be yours instead of someone else's. And I just think this is a very smooth transition onto the other side from, being on the corporate side to going into the business ownership side. So let Jon help you and at least read the book and learn some things from there. So thanks, Jon, for joining us.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'd love to just wrap it up with one last question for our audience. So every week I ask you a question, same question, but what is one step you can take today to move towards financial freedom and really living life on your terms, a life that you truly desire, not by default, but by design? We'll catch you next week. Think of one thing, though, that you could take from Jon's message today and put it into action. Catch you next week.